Irina Podobnia, fascinating Bulgaria. She spent a lot of time in China, ended up finding a need, a software as a service platform. And she left that business in China and Hong Kong and came back and created something called TrackMage, which is a platform that allows full tracking of items for businesses, e-commerce sites, but just a fascinating approach as to the need that she saw and how she pursued it. I asked her, what lessons have you learned? What would you do now differently after 5 years of having this successful platform? Answers are fascinating. I'll just give you one insight. Love your customer. Also, her view on discipline with her background was fascinating as well. Leadership plays a large role in it. But it's a great business conversation with Irina. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business? And it lasted over 25 years. Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Very cool. Tim Branyan, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're busy. I want to talk about the term entrepreneur. I mean, you're a classic example of a great one, a serial one, in fact. But all too often, I hear people kind of describe themselves as an entrepreneur when perhaps it's a little bit of a gray area. Is the term getting kind of thrown around a bit today?
Um, yeah, so I think an entrepreneur has some characteristics. I think they're aggressively curious, and anybody can be one.
Hmm.
But I think it's become really cool to have that title. And of course, maybe I don't know who's more deserving of it, who's not. I feel, in short, an entrepreneur is someone who is aggressively curious, hurdles obstacles, figures things out, is focused on seeing solutions to problems that they experience in the world, and they're always pushing for innovation. And I think that's part of the aggressive curiosity. So anybody can be one. It's not this title that's just for a certain type of person. Anybody can go out and do those things. But yeah, I think that it has become this this glorified word, even CEO or business owner. But the truth is, I think if people knew like how much actually goes into it, the hard
Hmm.
work, what chopping the tree actually looks like
Yeah.
and feels like consistently, and the ups and downs, more people would exercise caution in their planning, deciding deciding to maybe go that route. Just my kind of quick thoughts on it.
Yeah, I guess just recently I was at a place, and somebody introduced themselves to me as an entrepreneur, and it just seemed too ambiguous, I guess is my point. I just it's just a why, like you say, chopping the tree down. I like what you said about pushing for innovation,
Yeah.
because we see how technology has, I'm going to say, helped all industries. Some people may look at it a little bit differently. You were in the military, Air Force, 6 years. You were cybersecurity there, so you're certainly a technologist, an expert, I would say. I mean, those people that may be upset with it perhaps their job got displaced, like in the travel agency a travel, business. That certainly has
Mm.
been turned upside down since the web and things like that. But I like the idea of pushing innovation as part of kind of a theme of innovation and entrepreneurism.
Yeah, no, I think that there's builders out there, people that are, uh, I tend to call entrepreneurs creators.
Mm.
And in the nature of like,
Hmm.
what we do is we're trying to create a hybrid of someone who's like a creator, but a capitalist in thinking, like a creator entrepreneurial hybrid, because, we've personally seen the power of influence and the power of, uh, you know, your ability to capture attention and now data. I think that's like kind of the new gold currency in today's world is attention, influence, and your ability to collect data, right? And you're in the tech space too, so you understand that. But yeah, I think entrepreneurs are not just dreamers. They don't stop there. They also execute. So that's why I call them builders. They'll never stop either. It doesn't matter what amount of money they get to. It doesn't matter what title they earn. They
Mm.
love the process. They love to build cool stuff. Maybe they were fort builders when they were kids. I don't know. It's they like to build stuff, and they enjoy the process.
Yeah, it's very true. And often I like what you said about how the data is important. Twitter and Facebook and all these companies realized that a long time ago. I mean, the user base was excited that this stuff is free. It was not free, right? We know what people were
You were
getting.
anytime something's free, or you're the product.
Yeah, exactly right. And not at all free. But what I often see is I see a lot of technologists being entrepreneurs, being business owners, and being very good with the technology, but falling short in sales and marketing and
Mm.
perhaps, management and even leadership. They're very good at building the product, but those other things they just need other help with. You must see this as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's the biggest. So the first obstacle is building a really great product or tool. If we're specifically talking about tech, like it's the first challenge is uh, getting through the clear communication and reducing the ambiguity and arriving at a great minimum sellable product without losing your hair and losing your bank account or your your house or sanity. That's the first challenge, but definitely the second challenge, and I'll echo what you just said, is finding a way to sell it and distribute and new client acquisition and engineering systems that work, or at least one to start with. That's what I typically recommend to any SaaS founder or someone that's in the tech space is find one methodology that's cost effective, that will generate cold leads and convert them into
Hmm.
buyers and then advocates of who you are, what you have. So how I've always done that, just so some additional hopefully support or help for somebody, is just through direct marketing. And the beauty of the day and age that we live now is that we don't have to do direct marketing by horseback or through
Mm.
the mail or even through a dial pad. We have social media, and everybody's on it. Everybody's on Instagram for the most part, Facebook or LinkedIn. Choose where your audience is, or your ideal customer is. You can get that insight too, and then start by casting the net or casting the fishing line 50 times a day, 100 times a day. And what
Mm.
you'll learn in the process of doing your pitch is what works, what doesn't, what sucked about it. And once you figure out what works, do more of that and improve that. Again, back to what I was saying before, Joe, it's like swinging the axe. You got to swing the axe to figure out your stance, figure out how to fall the tree, if you will. And most people don't want to do that because it's hard work, and it's a lot of it takes a lot of time and consistency and discipline. But if you believe in what you have, you got something really awesome, then you need to figure out a way to get it in the hands or in the minds of people that can use it. My thought.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing I see where some falls short. And I happened to talk to somebody yesterday with another SaaS platform. Her big, after doing it for I don't know how long, I think she said 6, 7 years, was, love your customer, have the customer in
Mm,
mind. I think too often technologists are thinking like technologists and they're building a solution for them when it really should be for the, for the customer, for the end, whether it's business or it's a consumer. Have that in mind when you're designing.
yeah, love that, man. And not just like the design, like the user experience, user interface should support the needs, and you should go there with empathy and your finger on the pulse, if you will, of how people will be feeling and what they'll be going through to the best of your ability as you're designing and building out your thing, but also where they go for help, and what they find when they search, and who answers the phone, or what those systems look like, and how they feel as somebody's going through things. And there's so much insight that can be collected just by actually caring, and like investing in somebody's experience. Like support is this beautiful place where you get the answers to the test. You really do. And if you just ask questions, you take interest in somebody's experience with your product, service, whatever, they're gonna give you the answers to the test. And if you are asking with the intent to engineer, if you're asking with the intent to serve, or roll up your sleeves and build and support that ask, then you get to a really cool point when people start referring you without even asking them to. They
Mm,
become advocates of who you are, what you have, their experience with you, and that's free. You can even add gas to it with a referral program, which is
mm,
even cooler. But it's free when people start telling their friends and family and colleagues and people in their tribe, hey, you got to check this out, or hey, this is what's happened with me using this. And I get it, like how it's easy to get stuck in the metrics and the numbers, and you start calling people users. You start
mm.
calling people clients. You give them a different definition than human, and fellow man, or that you get to know them, and that's, or you don't get to know them. You start thinking about them in metrics, and that's maybe good in some cases and bad in others. I think you know caring about your people is only going to help you when service leads to greatness.
Yeah. One of the classic examples that I remember is when QuickBooks, the big accounting software, first came out in the 90s, I believe. It was just so obvious that it wasn't built by accountants, and all the accountants had problems with it. And, the business owners, they were kind of caught in between. We just held a focus group for a very large, one of the biggest tech firms in the world. And I got together 12, 13 what we call managed service providers, MSPs, in a room in Miami. And, you know, MSPs just spoke their mind. I hosted it, and it's just the
That's
the,
awesome.
the information collected for that big tech firm yeah. I recorded the whole thing. We
It's worth
surveyed.
billions.
Yes, to them, and they're like, "Oh, you're kidding me. That's how you look at that? And wow, that's what's happening out there, and I was not aware of that." And it's just like mouths open, and the
Yeah.
MSPs they're pointing their fingers like, "This is what it's got," and I survey them before and then survey them after, both parties. I mean, just have your clients, you know, needs in mind, and you'll be successful. Is that what you did with Trufanz?
Yeah, that's what we're doing now, and all the products that I own or have a stake in. It's just how I like to run businesses. It's a no brainer, and when
Yeah.
it's awesome that you're bridging the gap between that communication and you're providing that service. That's literally a multi-billion-dollar service.
Mm.
To cross communicate effectively to the people running operations decisions who aren't necessarily thinking with their heart or with the pulse on. There's a disconnect, especially with really big companies. So it's a cool, just kind of sad, side caveat from that, what you were mentioning. But yeah, with my platform specifically, it's, I'm not disconnected. I'm in the trenches. I still send DMs out to people every day. It's just one of my habits. It's like going to
Wow.
the gym. Like I send 25 DMs on average per day
Hmm.
out to, if we're specifically talking about Trufanz, out to people who I think would be a great fit. And I'm still doing conversations with them because I don't want to lose touch on, what's working, what isn't working to convert a conversation, what people's needs are. and then I keep in contact, or I kind of watch from the sideline, like how people are going out and how they're doing with the platform. That way, I've got the insight as I'm talking to engineering or my CTO, or when we're coming up with new feature ideas. I've got a really good idea on what what people are going to
Mm.
be happy with, because they've told me. I don't have to be some genius, or shake the magic 8 ball. I've already asked, and to allow someone to contribute or participate with their thoughts into your product makes them a stronger customer and a client too.
Mhm.
So
It
we've
does.
always added things like, and I think, man, like so many software tools could benefit from this. But just imagine, like, if it was just common practice for a software tool to have a feature request board. Think of it like whether it's Trello, whether it's their own custom board, where they had a feature request board where they can inject ideas, people can submit their ideas into this board, and then the community upvotes or
Mm.
downvotes on these features, and then the company can then look at the metrics and say, okay, it looks like everyone's really wanting these things. This is what's gonna you know really kind of showcase to our engineering staff like what we put priority on. And from there, people are active participants in their own platform. They take stake in it. They get really excited about announcements and stuff, because they are making it happen, and then they become advocates for insight from the field, or from the actual use case. And what a valuable thing to know the answers to any test. As a stake, as a company founder or owner. Anyway, that's just my thought.
Yeah, everybody wins with that method, Tim, because the people that voted for it see the new function and they start using it, and then they start telling friends that may not be on the
Yeah,
platform. They feel like they're part of the process. They kind of have skin in the game. Your developers are happy because they know they're making their clients happy. I mean, everybody wins when that
yeah,
happens. You know that they're fully engaged. Uh, I believe Trufanz is like about 4 years old now, well over 620,000 users. Great success there. Did you have, in the beginning stages, did you have content creators that were looking for something? What niche did you see that you filled? Like, what was the genesis of it?
yeah. No, so I didn't set out to have a great idea with it. I just saw all the things that sucked, man. Like, and
Mm,
currently, it's still happening now. Like, people are being censored. Creators historically have been undervalued and underpaid. A lot of these major platforms are selling your data. We talked about that briefly. Like, you
yeah.
are the product, and they are mainly building to uh, appease advertisers who are ensuring that their servers stay running. They're paying the
Mm.
bills, mainly these major advertisers that are hoping to put their stuff in front of buyers, and that funds pretty much the free platform. So that, along with limiting reach and algorithms, to that same point, your reach is limited. So if you're trying to build a community or an audience on a pay to play social media platform, you're not going to get the reach. You're not going to get that connection and community. So all those things sucked. And then we looked at who is in our market. You got huge competitors that are similar, like OnlyFans or Patreon or Coffee. They're all unique, and I'm not knocking any of them, but the majority of them, their users are in the adult space. So we're like, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do our best to pay more. We're gonna pay faster with instant payments. We're gonna create additional features and functionality that no one else has, and we're gonna be the wholesome alternative, or classier alternative, for creators that want to monetize without the stigma.
Hmm.
We're going to be 100% invite only, so not just anybody can join. And we're going to listen with the intent to engineer. And fast forward to now, there's been a lot of work that goes into uh, branding and getting the first users on and creating that momentum. But I can safely say now that we have one of the best platforms on the planet, no doubt. And what's coming down the pipe is just more of listening with the intent to engineer. So I'm excited to have the answers to the test. Like, where we go with it, it's going to be cool to see, as more people start to discover.
Now you're turning down significant revenue by
Mm.
not having adult content.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, dude, you can make millions. Like I could literally, if I wanted to today, I could replicate the Trufanz platform, put it in the adult space, and make, who knows how much. I mean, a ton. But what's the result of what I'm doing there? Can I personally couldn't know that potential result is bad for people and be a part of creating something just for money. Like
Mm,
I'm trying to make treasures in a dimension we don't fully understand. Trying to build up treasures in heaven. We all get this short life here, and I want true success and significance. Excuse me. And I don't think it comes by. Yeah, I look at that kind of like the easy way, maybe.
mm,
And yeah, I want the results of what I do to glorify God, glorify my family, and to make a good impact on the world. That's just, yeah, it's just me, and I think that to use my gifts in alignment with that is a better form of worship.
mm. You're a very spiritual man. That's for sure. That's what my sense from you. It's fascinating to me that we'll just talk about OnlyFans for a moment, has just turned the pornography, business upside down. It just put it in the hands of the creators versus the distributors versus
Yeah.
it's fascinating to me how that's done it. Now, certainly that's a segment of, that you're not interested in and many people are and many people aren't. But it's fascinating to me that the shift is happening to the creators. So you're doing it as well, obviously just in different areas. And I think that's these are game changing. You talked earlier about, being technology forward. These are game changing platforms and events that are just putting it in the hands of the
Mhm.
people that are creating it. It's good.
Yeah, and it's forcing the giants to change the way that they're doing things
Mm,
and change the way that they're sharing the billions of dollars in revenue that's being generated through the medium of the platforms. So, don't get me wrong, YouTube's amazing and
yeah.
TikTok's amazing and all these platforms are amazing, but the I think the world is shifting towards a group, sort of collaborative profit share versus a smaller number of people making the lion's share on the backs of
Mm,
the many. I think that the platforms and the technologies that will continue to win in the future are platforms that support the individual to do the thing that they want to do really well and take a smaller micro percentage of a large amount of transactions that occur. And the creator or whomever the customer is will gladly do so to be able to perform their thing, whatever that is, and with the rise of even like crypto technology and the blockchain and solutions that'll come with Web3, it'll be really interesting to see what platforms last the test of time and really do have
mm.
awesome utility that take away some of the typical third party giants right between the consumer.
Absolutely. And of course, the
It's
other
kind of a big
big
thought. I
game
just wouldn't.
changer.
I just got to chase
Yeah,
that
yeah,
thought.
it's a big swing.
Exciting, and I really am trying
I
to
love
keep
it.
my finger on the pulse of all these things that are happening with AI and
Yeah.
the rise of new technologies and how they'll be used and who's gonna, just fun to kind of watch.
Yeah, and the big game changer that we see very recently is Chat GTP, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's a amazing technology today in the Wall Street Journal. Microsoft is investing billions over multi years in it.
Hmm.
Just as they announce, by the way, 10,000 layoffs. Very very interesting dynamic there. What kind of material will you? No pornography. What other type of material will you not allow content on Trufanz?
So it's again, we go after people who we think would be ideal, and there's no problem with selling sexy at all. Like some of
Mm,
our top creators are pretty people that do cool shit in a bunch of
like
different.
myself.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm just a joke. Just a
No,
joke.
I think that I think you are cool, and I think that
Yeah.
there's definitely a use case for podcasters too, and I'll kind of dive into that. But some of our top users are pretty people that do cool stuff, and specifically pretty girls that do cool stuff outside of the adult industry, but also like in heavily male dominated career fields. Some of our top creators in the world are pretty girls that drive huge monster trucks, pretty
Mm.
girls that have agriculture, farms, pretty girls that are welders or that do construction, concrete, musicians, things like that. But and that's really interesting to see. And then we just have such a wide variety of different creators, different use cases, that it's fun to kind of see how people are using the different features and functionality, strategies that they discover, and then what they're telling us based on their audience is how we're feature request or doing our feature rollouts and stuff. So it's just really cool, man. It's been awesome to meet just a lot of really rad people that have given themselves permission to generate content and kind of
Mm.
sing their song, dance their dance, and learn from the sideline in a way, more of an active sideline position, all the different stresses that comes with being someone that has influence or an audience on the internet, the different roller coasters up and down. There's a lot, but it's been a radical fun ride so far. And then the things that they need, a lot of people don't think about this, but what I've learned is that creators, and I think maybe many people in general, have no idea how to do taxes, have no idea like how to structure an entity or their business to keep the
Mm.
majority of money that they're making. No one's really, a lot of times creators that we bring onto the platform, we help them sign up, set up, and launch. They go on to make more money than they've ever made. And that we found pretty quickly could be like devastating mentally on someone and emotionally. Like around tax time, it's like, I went out and made six figures. What the heck am I supposed to do with this?
Mm.
I spent this, or I didn't do it through an LLC. Or so we put together different offers and tools that help creators, even just outside of creating content, and new strategies for building their brand and building their audiences and monetizing, but even further, right? Like keeping the majority of the money that they make and structuring themselves, limiting liabilities. And then also, protection, like security services to detect, deter, and prevent people from stealing their content or stealing their identity. There's, and the list goes on, and different things that we try to do as we're watching the things that are good and learning from the things that are bad, and trying to become the logical choice platform for creators all over the world, right?
Mm.
That's our aim. So just being observant in the process.
Now, what if a creator has opposing views from you, like, but they're not spiritual or whatever?
Yeah,
I don't know. They're you're in Indianapolis, so they're an Eagles fan or something. What? Perhaps nothing not so minor, but if they have
sure.
opposing views, I mean, do you have a process? Would you not uninvite them? How does that work?
We ban them instantly. No, I'm just kidding.
No Eagles, no
we
Giants.
turn, we shadow ban them behind the scenes. No, those are the things that are happening on other
They certainly
platforms.
are.
I
Yeah.
expect that. I hope that, and I hope for, whether I'm meeting someone in person or through a conversation on the phone, whatever. It's like ideas are what helps us arrive at new destinations, and being able to critique ideas and have differences in opinion, and kind of pick apart other people's different ideas and not be emotional or get into a fist fight. Or I think that's really important for democracy,
Mm.
um, growth. We talked about it earlier, innovation,
Mm.
like putting ideas together and magnifying them or shrinking them or editing them, right, is a really great thing for a society. And so if someone has different opinions than me, that's totally fine. The only thing that's really like a hard no, and we've got all our terms and policies, just no pornography. Um, that's pretty much the main thing. Outside of that, I mean, dude, if you love whatever you're into, for the most part, that's all fine and good. If there are infractions, we handle those a little bit differently. So if there's
Mm.
infractions of terms, we got a lot of tech that detects, deters, and prevents things, and we do have reporting in place and can oversee in any case things are uh, no good, right? If they've been indicated as a potential threat, then we can contact people, and typically it's a three strike rule. We've never had to ban anyone. Again, that kind of goes back to a relationship that we have with creators. But in any case, there's been an infraction of rules and we're made aware of it. Uh, then we contact that person, say, hey, what's up with this, or what's going on with this? Like, what, you know, here's where it states in our there are rules, and we're telling you right now within our discretion that this is a no-go. We should edit it a little bit. And then once we find, once we have a conversation, then it's typically the end of it. Again, we haven't had any habitual rule breakers. It's just a correction.
That
Yeah.
seems a bit more democratic way than what YouTube does. You just kind of get a
Yeah.
flag and that response. And I know people have been, I don't know them, but I've heard of people that have been canceled before, and it's a real shame. Uh,
It's tough. It's their livelihood. It's like getting fired, and like the mental infractions on that too. When you lose your account, it's almost like a part of your identity. I've seen people struggle with that. And yeah, it's just tough. It's really tough. And to pivot from that, because I don't think that's going away. I think that we're still going to have platforms that just boom, you're done, you're gone. It's all run by AI or whatever, and that's really tough. So what I encourage people to do is to own your data, own your list. That's your asset as a creator, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is to own your tribe's list. So even if you are in a catastrophic situation where you lose your platform, you can then email and still get in touch with your people. You still retain that asset. And again, another reason why new paradigms of social media is important is because I believe, at least, why Trufanz is valuable, I believe, is that you own your data. It's your customer list. It's not ours. It's
hmm,
it's you
hmm.
as the creator. So to own that is again, it's putting more control back in the creator's hands,
Yeah,
or business owner. That's the way I like to kind of look at them.
sure. And has there been creators out there that you've pursued that didn't want to join?
Yeah, of course. There's people that have already built out, large audiences, and they typically they have apprehensions, like they don't want to invest any more time. They don't want to
Mm,
transition people over, and typically I'll rebut that with, um, I can show you how to use features that the platforms don't have that aren't going to eat up all your time. And we don't expect you, or would we ever recommend that you close down something that's profitable for you.
right.
We would just urge you to have multiple different ways to monetize and create continuity, and use us alongside of other platforms, because we don't mind if somebody has an even an OnlyFans, and they decide to, they want to transition, or they want to have our platform too for some of the features and the uniqueness of it. That's fine, as long as they can abide by our terms, right, and policies. They're not doing the same thing that they do over there. um, yeah, and I think a lot of them are surprised that they don't have to do the thing that they're doing over there to still earn and monetize.
As I was, researching you, Tim, I was excited that you accepted this. I remember a year ago or so, everybody was talking about, Patreon. Go to my Patreon. The top 5 Patreon earners, and then, boy,
Yeah,
it just really died down. You just don't hear about it anymore.
it's tough. Yeah, so we do get quite a few people coming from Patreon over to us, and I don't know if Patreon will ever hear this. They've done a wonderful job, and they have a really cool platform. I think they were one of the first to market in a way,
Mm, mm,
and I think where they've dropped the ball a bit is one with merchant processing. Like, I've heard a lot of people struggling with merchant processing there, and then also, just some of the limitations that they have with that, and then also just the experience when you add subscriptions, when you add tiered subscriptions to your platform, it creates a lot of effort, workload to your creators that have to manage what goes into what like tier
mm.
to support and help the audience, and then the audience members are it's too complex. I think, in short, I think it creates a lot of complexity, and there's a way to tier without structuring it the same way that they did. I think you can tier content individually without packaging it and forcing people in a continuity play. So that's kind of how we did it, and I'm aware of what's available to see, right, with some of our competitors, how they're doing different things, and I try to monitor what is and isn't there. And so that's mainly what we hear. So we do get a lot of people from Patreon, and yeah, they're really happy with the experience. that they get from there to here.
And is there a group that you have the most of in Trufanz? Musicians, you mentioned, sports enthusiasts, etc. Is there one larger group than any other?
Yeah, extreme sports. So
Uh,
like dirt bikes, monster trucks. Now we're getting into some gun enthusiasts, so training, like the shoot, move, communicate guys, which is awesome. A lot of education that I think needs to be shared in that world to showcase the tools and safety and uh, really the sport of it too. There's a lot that goes into that. Um,
hmm.
yeah, so I think those are probably the main ones, just extreme sports, and that's a multitude of different things from racing, motocross, trick bikes, fast cars. What is the dune? They do like dune racing. That's really
Mm.
cool. Just a lot of really rad people that would wanted to monetize but didn't want the stigma that came to us. We actually are now kind of tiptoeing into the wrestling world too. There's a lot of wrestlers
Hmm.
out there. We've started to pick up some traction in the women's wrestling world, as well as some of the men have seen what they were doing and came over. So yeah, and then I think the next one would probably be like fitness influencers, fitness models, fitness coaches. But this is a big umbrella, right? There's so many different. There's so many, which it's just I think that there's almost like a tipping point. You get a few of the larger creators like in one of these industries, and then the rest kind of follow in suit. They have influence over other people in that world. So I think that's what's happened. But man, it's such a wide variety of people that could benefit from this. Um, so yeah, it's just a matter of time.
And as far as podcasts, most podcasts, there's about 3 million, I think the last number I saw, are generally audio only. While I video recorded every one of ours, we're up to almost 190 at this point.
It's
Is that
awesome.
is that about where you are? Is that why there's not a lot of podcasters because it's just audio?
Um,
Or are there a lot? I don't even know on Trufans.
so I've only been on so many at this point now. I met Alex at Pod Match. I think that's how we connected, right? Which is
Yes.
a really slick platform.
Really cool, yeah.
And I think they just, there. I see some that are trying to I've seen so many different ways that they onboard new guests. I've seen some people attempt to like pitch branding packages, which I think is a good idea. I think, and this is a conversation I'll probably end up having with Alex at some point. I'd love to. Is they need a simplified way to monetize kind of the sequence of onboarding a guest, providing them with kind of an excellent post production package
Hmm.
and a growth package along with that post production. I think that would be something that could sell if it was very seamless and it was effective for their price range, or maybe there's multiple packages. So like for example, a lot of people are wanting to guest because they are a business, they are, a brand, etc. And they're trying to get exposure out to who they are, what they have going on. So if a platform like Podmatch, or let's say any other platform, uh, people get together, it books the show, we get on, we film, and then I'll have an option to buy pre-edited clips or the ability to snag clip snippets from
Hmm.
this thing, and it shoots it out in HD, and it's yeah, I just think like facilitating that could be really cool, and then in creating integrations for distribution. I think that may be like a next vertical that they could explore, and that'll help specifically podcasters and his platform. It's kind of an idea. There's probably other ways. I'm not a podcaster. I'm more
Not
of
yet.
a yeah, not yet. I'm just trying to figure this. I'm trying to be a good guest and yeah, build up some of my personal brands. I've been mainly behind the scenes, but yeah, it's kind of an idea. I think it could work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see all these numbers about forecasting for podcasts. Something like 50% only last 10 episodes, and I don't know, 80 or 90% don't last more than a year, and things like it's a low barrier to entry, and that's good and bad, right? So
Right.
it, it, it can invite people, and my fourth in my list of top 5 goals for the podcast, my 4th is revenue. So, in my case, I own a tech company. I'm able, I don't need this. I don't need the revenue for this. So
Right.
others kind of go in it the other way. I've got to start making money. When it doesn't happen, they may turn away. But I love doing it because I get to talk to really interesting people like yourself. You had a great quote, Tim. Work your job and mind your freedom.
Yeah, man, I like that saying. It's what I did, and it kind of aligns with what you're saying about some people getting in the podcast world to profit right away, and I think that's a
Yeah.
roll of the dice, man, because in order to be as consistent and kind of beat the tide, if you will, that it gets so many, you have to stay consistent and you have to enjoy it and you have to like the process of improving and getting better, because most of the time when you start something brand new, you suck at it. So you have to you have to be able to have maybe some money as well to be able to uh, kind of manage your economy and keep your life afloat to some degree. So when I say like work your job and mind your freedom, I'm typically talking to entrepreneurs that are like restlessness or that have restlessness and discontent, and they're ready for a
Mm,
change or a pivot, and they're starting to think about, man, what can I do? I want to be there for my kids more. I know I have all these gifts and talents and abilities, or I'm tired of working for this guy that's I'm breaking my back for, and I know I can do a better job. It's like, great, you can and you should, and I'm all for that. I want to put gas on that. But take that energy, work this job, be the best employee you ever can. And I'd say find like if you're absolutely miserable with your job, find the highest paying job that has the the least taxation on your brain, on your energy, and and do that just to fund your lifestyle while you're building your freedom on the back end, like creating empowering your system that's going to serve people, that's going to be your brand, your product or service, and that's going to be your vehicle to escape the current situation that you're in that's making you feel
mhm.
compelled to change and shift. So that's what it all just kind of means, at least to me. And I did that. So I could really relate to the people that are feeling that, are going through that, and like, man, that's my encouragements with you to stick and stay with it, and it is worth it. But it's an uphill battle to punch through the soil, I guess. Like as you're blossoming, it is an uphill battle. So be prepared for that as well. And man, what gets planned and measured gets executed. If you're, get more pissed off, get more, get focused.
Yeah, I love that, Tim. What gets plans and measured gets executed. Very
Mm,
important. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Who was some Jets coach said that? Herm Edwards, I
yeah.
think, said that. But when people talk to me about starting a business, I tend to get cynical right away. We talked about being an entrepreneur. I say, how long can you go without a paycheck? You need to answer that. If you're telling me 2 weeks, I got a mortgage, I have car, you can't do it. You need to save, how long can you go? It better be at least a year. It better, and
Mm,
it must be so nice. I started my business in 93. This year makes 30 years. And I remember some of my friends saying, it must be so nice not to have a boss. And then I would say, I have more bosses now than I've ever had. Every one of
yeah.
my clients is my boss. Hell, my vendors are my boss. Hell, the bank is my boss. I have more bosses that I have to make happy. So just some things that I don't want to discourage it. I just want reality to kind of be
Yeah.
there. I know you're really good at this, but do you have people that will pay for it? I know you're really good. Think about that. Answer that question and write something up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Yeah.
get passionate at that. I don't want to discourage. I just want to educate.
Yeah, well, I think it's not discouraging, it's more so positioning. You're
Mm.
positioning someone to have a better chance at winning by getting their mind into the fight the right way. If I just encourage you and love on you and rub your shoulders before you get
Mm,
into the ring with someone that's a fighter, which is building a business, he's gonna beat the shit out of you.
yeah,
Like,
dangerous.
business will beat the shit out of you if you're not actually ready. And not to scare you, you should do it, but positioning your mind towards committing for multiple years in advance. I think the timeline at which people commit to stuff is so short now. Like especially my generation guys, like we got a week in us, we got 2 weeks in us, we got 30 days in us, we
Mm.
got 90 days in us. Like no, the guys that I know are majorly successful are thinking in terms of years. I just started my YouTube channel. I'm not thinking about 90 days from now. I know I'm going to suck in 90 days still. I am going to do this and check the metrics in 2 years. Like that's the truth. And you talk to people that are, again, if you position yourself in the way of opportunity and you go after people that are bigger than you in business, or they've got bigger entrepreneurial muscles,
Mm.
you should want to be around them and watch what they're doing and watch how they think, and that's a hack. So the guys that I got that mentality from are making hundreds of millions of dollars a year, have multiple businesses. It's not just the money either. Like I feel like they actually are like carving out a good life too. Like they own their life and their time. They still have their wives, or significant
Mm.
others. Like that's another part. But yeah, they don't think in terms of like, well, I'm going to give this a week or a day, maybe with some things, but like they know the process to yield great results takes time, and forging that discipline, and creating a system. And yeah, I just think like that's a really good piece for somebody to chew on, is just how long are you willing to really stick and stay? Are you serious about this, or you're just kind of like right now in the moment you're a little flustered at your boss? How much do you really want freedom? Like that's just my 2 cents. I get
Yeah.
passionate about it
True.
too, man, because I really do want to see people win, and I love to celebrate when people have made it, or they get to some wins, or they ignite that like typically crippled uh, inner beast inside of them. But when they flip that guy on, and they start earning the things that I think everybody should have, getting those victories, man, I get pumped.
Me too.
So
Me
that's why I
too.
get excited about it. I think you're
There's
the
nothing.
same, Joe.
Yeah, I am exactly the same. There's nothing, there's very little that's more exciting than when my friends are doing well, or when
Yep.
people I know that are doing well. I absolutely love it. I love to help celebrate it. It's a wonderful feeling, and maybe even if I had just a one little part of it,
Yeah.
that helps as well. On the podcast, Tim, you just mentioned discipline. I When I started my business back in the 90s, I was not paying attention to my better self, and I was eating too much pizza, and I was working 14 hours a day, and I was drinking too much soda. Found myself got up to 340 pounds. The doctor said to me, if you're pre-hypertension, you're pre-diabetic, if you don't change what you're doing, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. And so I said that was it. So I took the next year and I lost 140 pounds. People always ask
Wow.
me, how did you do it? And like there's some secret. Again, like entrepreneurialism, like there's some silver bullet, just do this and you'll get success. My answer to them is always discipline. I just got
Mm.
focused and discipline. I'm not disciplined in every area, that's for sure. But in that area, I was, and I was determined. I didn't, and my method was not to tell anybody. I just worked out every day and I ate less and I cut out sugar drinks and I did 5 triathlons and I just got focused. You're in Air Force 6 years, I believe. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life, Tim.
Yeah, man. It's an ever going battle with the inner bitch in my mind.
Mm,
That's just the God
mm,
honest truth. It's the best way that I can describe. And I think David Goggins, like he's
yeah.
like known for saying that, but it's such a good way for any man that's losing the battle to title the inner mind thoughts that's holding you back from doing the good thing that you should be doing, is to call it the inner bitch. Because I'm trying to do these cold plunges, or these cold showers, and I'm working
Yeah.
my way up to a minute now, and that inner voice is so loud before I even get into my bathroom and start the process. Like, it's don't do it, it's going to be miserable, it's going to be. So that is the perfect place to forge and defeat, forge your weapons and defeat your inner bitch, is by
Mm,
intentionally doing things that your mind is going to tell you not to do. It's going to save you. The result of doing that like, as long as these results are positive, which in most cases you can research the benefits of cold plunging and waking you up and what it does in your body. The same thing happens. The little bitch will start talking when you're going to go to the gym, and you wrote out this plan that you're going to do, but man, it's raining. Man, it's cold. Oh, it's still dark outside. I didn't get the sleep that I wanted to get, or my kid was up late. Whatever it is, it's like that voice gets louder and louder. And once, once you've I tend to work backwards. Once you've figured out this is the Tim, or this is the insert your name that you want to be or become, and you've figured out all the daily habits and rituals and things that you need to commit to achieve that, like in a an appropriate amount of time, that's when it's very, very key to beat the inner bitch, like, as you're on the journey. And anybody can do it. Few people choose to. Successful people silence that voice. It's not
Mm.
up for discussion. You can hear this anywhere. You get on YouTube, look up the rah motivation stuff. It's the truth. These guys aren't, they're not selling you a bunch of crap. It's the discipline. So for me, man, in the military, it was the first place that I really got, exposed to discipline, but it wasn't like self-imposed. And, genuinely, you join the military. That was like one of the best options that I had as a kid. I saw it as a way to, go down a different path, and the aim was success. When I got there, there is no option. You either comply to these rituals and comply to these ways of life that you signed up for, or you get the hell out. Like, you don't
Mm.
belong here. So it's not like I
Right.
even had the ability to fight my inner bitch on my own. It was forced. And because of that, I kind of indoctrinated some discipline. It was just like this. I didn't want to quit. It didn't, that wasn't an option. So it's harder, I think, as an entrepreneur. It's harder, I think, as somebody who's, a father and a husband, and you're on your own. Like, no one's really holding you accountable, you know, for the most part. Like, there's no one's following you around with a video camera. So the hard part is, beating yourself and defeating yourself to invest in the overall person that you're trying to become. And so for me, man, that's still an everyday battle. It's still a refinement in deciding, like, what am I capable of? What do I deserve? How am I going to worship God? Like, how do I, what are the disciplines? And then just following through. So it's kind of a long way to say that I'm still on that journey. And I personally want more people around me that are on that same journey, because
Mm.
that's that kind of like community accountability.
Yeah, I like
So that's,
the whole.
yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, that's part of the reason that I'm starting to build like a brand now and kind of share my thoughts and messages or my experiences, because one of the things I'm most excited for is building more relationships with dudes like you, Joe, and the people in your
Mm.
world, and people that are on a mission, people that want more out of life, and people that have a different energy, and people that haven't just submitted to the world and the heaviness, people that are looking for community, and iron sharpens iron, man. So it's like, it's within everyone's best interest to create community and be exposed to other people on their way. So that's part of, like, I think the excitement, or at least this vision that I have for my own, communities.
Yeah, the inner bitch thing is, I still every once in a while, Tim, feel like the 340-pound guy is inside me trying to get out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's just I've never been that way. I've been an athlete all my life. I just neglected myself, and it's there. But to follow up more on discipline, you know, you describe yourself as middle income, low middle income there, uh, Kokomo outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, but you didn't want to get a job as a high schooler. You kind of hustled and you were like modifying Xboxes, and I mean,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff requires a lot of discipline in order to I want to be in charge of my own destiny. I mean, at a young age, you saw this.
Yeah. Oh, for me, man, because I don't know why I never thought, you know what, I could just go get a job. probably would have been easier. I just was looking for, I think at a young age, like I wanted to make the money, but I was looking for the get rich quick
Mm,
sort of thing. Like I was looking for the low resistance thing that could make me a lot of money while not having to go and wear a hat or the uniform and,
mm.
be a pawn in somebody else's business. I just saw it that way, and that maybe wasn't the best. It probably could have been easier, but yeah, the route I took in high school was, I wanted nice shoes. I wanted the basketball jersey. I wanted a new car. And my parents were very much, you know, not giving me money to go out and just buy these frivolous. I had everything that I could ever need. It wasn't like, we didn't have electrical bill, and we didn't have food and such. Like I didn't grow up poor, but I didn't grow up with the extra stuff that some other kids got that I really wanted. So for me, I one of my first hustles, it's kind of funny, that was modifying Xboxes so they could
Yeah.
do things like browse the internet. This is the original Xbox. Like it could browse the internet, you could play burnt games, you could play emulators. I put on there, so like Sega, Genesis, Nintendo, hundreds of different games that after I soft modded the Xbox and redid its firmware, then you could play this version of a new operating system basically. So that was $100, and I sold that. Kids had to ride my bus to drop off their Xbox at my corner by my house. I had a 24-hour turnaround. My buddy Grant was helping me with this too, so sometimes we would go to his house and mod these. Uh, I would bring the Xbox back to them. They would quality check it, and then I would typically get a list of games that they wanted to play on their Xbox. And my process was I built out my computer to have multiple CD burners on it, and I would buy a Walmart set of discs, DVD rewritables, and those games were anywhere from like $15 to $25, which was half off the normal games. And if you had my Xbox, which was $100, you could now start paying me when the new games came out, and I would bring those to school. So yeah, that was not legal. I
No.
didn't know. Hopefully enough time has passed now, but that was my first hustle, and that worked really well. I think I made more than what a teacher made in his salary my my freshman year of high school or sophomore year in high school. I can't remember.
I'll tell you what, Tim, that kind of activity gets you kicked off of, Trufanz. So,
Yeah, it's funny.
Tim Branyan, what motivates you?
Man, I'm motivated. It's changed over the years. Right now, I'm motivated by just impact and results. I like to sit back and watch the ripples of what was created and how it goes and does good. And I'm motivated. I'm motivated by finding significance. I got a
Mm,
chance to meet Tim Tebow recently, and I love being around people in their excellence. And this is a guy it's got a lot of experience at high levels in sports, high levels in business, and just to be in proximity with him and hear his story and what they're doing now with that stage and who they work for is just profound, man. And it changed my life, so working towards significance instead of just this worldly success is what I'm really into. Is I think that's the best way that I can carve out the next 40, 50 good years of my life. So, yeah, significance, fulfillment, impact.
and how do you measure success?
That's a great. So, for me now, and this has changed within the last year too. It's how am I being a good steward with the gifts that I've been given?
Mm,
Am I by the river? Am I praying? Am I being used? Um, am I grateful? Am I aligned? And
hmm.
that, no matter what I do at that point, that is successful. Even if I'm being still. So, and maybe that'll evolve over time too. But I think, like, as for right now, it's using my gifts and talents as a form of worship to mankind.
Mm,
And man, what if everybody did that?
yeah. Yeah.
What would happen to our whole economy if it
Yeah.
was everyone serving each other? Just a thought.
Not only economy, but humankind, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I would argue that our amazing country was built on principles and characteristics and foundations that we've since, mostly lost. And we all think we're so, that freedom is this recipe for happiness. And it's the total opposite.
Hmm.
Complete freedom is a recipe for disaster. Complete freedom is a recipe for lack of fulfillment. Complete freedom actually makes you a slave.
Interesting.
If you are in the service of mankind, I believe, and if you are in you discipline yourself, that is um, that is freedom. Our minds, our pleasures, it's a scam most of the time,
Hmm.
in my opinion. If you get everything you've ever wanted, you go the easy route. You partake in every worldly thing that they'll tell you is awesome. You will be miserable.
You will be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is if you don't believe me, go do it.
Right.
Go do it. To some degree, I've done that. I after the military, I went and contracted at a young age. I was 20, 22. I think I was 22, 21, 22. I lived in Kuwait and Dubai for like 3.5 years, making ridiculously big money for a young dude my age with no expenses. So I was rich because not only was I making 120, 180K a year, 100,000 of it was completely tax free, and I had no bills. I had no cars. Everything that I owned in the entire world was in one $49.99 storage shed in Illinois when I lived overseas. That was the only bill I had. So I'm making a ton of money trading time for life. And when I got some freedom, some flexibility to go and travel and vacation, I mean, dude, I was spending. We would have nights that we spent $15,000 like in a night, like
Oh.
buy an outfit, rent a limousine, go out to the clubs in Dubai, buy a $5,000 bottle of whatever it was, chase chicks, and I could have anything I wanted at that point at a young age, and I luckily quickly realized like this ain't it, man. This isn't like really. I kind of see where this is gonna go. I see how I feel now,
Hmm.
and something's got to give. Something's got to change again because I had arrived for me at rich and I wasn't fulfilled. It's like what so that was another restlessness and discontent moment in my life where I started to audit, started to just have different thoughts and kind of look around and you know defining moments.
It's not sustainable. Are you writing a book?
No, man. I mean, I guess I could say yeah. Like I'm not very disciplined on it, Joe. If I'm being honest, I need to be. So
Mm.
I have an idea for a book, and it's something like I would read, like something that I would use. It's almost
Yeah.
more like a tool. Like I have this concept in mind where I want to have like 365 pages in it. It's like whether it's going to be 365 or like 21 days. I think that's how many days it takes to build a habit. Pages in it will be a quote, a Bible verse that coincides with that, man-made kind of version. And then a QR code that has a video that would be, linked to either me or somebody that I think is an expert or somebody that I know that's been profound in this area, sharing, a talk on that. And I imagine it's like
Hmm.
this daily visual, audible consumption of material that helps somebody kind of pivot or come through the other side. So I really I want to work with somebody on it that maybe knows like neuro-linguistic programming or has been a coach for a while that understands, basically what I just said. They would know how to at least structure it really effectively based on human behavior and what most people are, experiencing and how we could best help. So that's kind of where I've done a blueprint of it. I think
Hmm.
I'm on like page 12 of it. It's really simple concept, right? Um, and then I just got all my video equipment, so maybe now I should start, huh? No excuse anymore. I need to talk to that inner bitch.
Well, as you're describing, this when you were younger, how the life's not sustainable, and I asked you what motivates you and how you measure success. It seems to me it's well thought out, well planned, and it could help others. So
Yeah.
I would just think that you put it all to words. You don't want to kind of keep it yourself, and maybe it could help others. I know when I speak to people like yourself, I never want to fall into the trap of, well, what would a bunch of people want to ask? I kind of think I'm
Mm,
asking what I want to ask, and hopefully they'll appreciate that. If I start thinking the way they do, then I'm not sure that it might kind of guide me in the wrong direction. Whereas if you're
yeah.
writing a book and your thought, I'm not sure if that's correct all the time, maybe 80, 90% of the time. But if you're writing something that you said you would read yourself, I would think that others like yourself would read it. I guess that's my point.
Yeah, no, it's great. I appreciate that, man. That's a testament to when you were telling me you've done 190 podcasts and you're in the tech space and you've had success in the tech space. This is just again more proof that you got a great character, and I just appreciate you even giving me that little nugget because that's insightful and it's a cool way to shift like how I'm looking at things too as a new content creator, right? Like I've been way
Mm.
more like behind the scenes. Um, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, very good. And my pledge, one of my goals is being able to take a compliment. So thank you. Uh how can we get in touch with you, Tim? If anybody who's listening, how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is just timbranyan.com. All my social media stuff's on there. If you want to connect there, kind of, I think there's more about my story there, and
That's a good site.
yeah, all my stuff's on timbranyan.com, and then Tim Branyan. Google that; that should pop up everywhere too.
Branyan. I will put it in the show notes so everybody can see it. Tim, absolute
Cool.
pleasure talking to you today. I really appreciate it. I hope one day we can, have a cup of coffee face to face.
Yeah, likewise, man. I'd love to stay in touch, and appreciate you having me on. And yeah, we'll definitely connect. I think if we're not on LinkedIn, I'll grab you on there too.
Yeah, that's where all business gets done there. Yeah, right there. Tim, thanks again. You be well.
See you, Joe.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pin's Discipline Conversation.